Okay, welcome back to Small Things Brought Together. My name is Robin Love. This is an ongoing series of conversations with contemporary artists about their art making, their creative process. These are long format conversations where we really dig into ideas in a spontaneous way, unrehearsed, allowing for silence and lots of meandering along the way. So I'm very excited to have Paula Lalala with me this month. Paula is an artist who's based in New York City and upstate New York, born and raised in Houston, Texas. And when I think of Paula, I think of someone who is fearless in her art making, using so many materials and media. I mean, I was trying to think about it and I was like, okay, from like making fountains with water and I think soup as well, and performance and painting, drawing, sculpture, personas, businesses. Like, is there anything untouched? I don't know. So yeah, so when I think of your work, Paula, I really just think of someone, almost someone who has no choice but to make art, like breathing. So yeah, I'm very excited that you're having this conversation with me today. So welcome, Paula.
Thanks, Robin. I'm honored to be here. Seriously honored, and touching introduction. I want to clarify that I was born in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay, I had a feeling I had that wrong.
During the Vietnam War, yeah, and but my family was from Texas for multiple generations, and then when I was 2, we moved back to Texas. So, yeah, people from Texas often are like very proud to be born in Texas, and so I don't feel ashamed to be born on an army base, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking the born and raised was somehow maybe not correct. So thank you. Yeah. But I do think of you, yeah, connected a bit with Texas and kind of this totally labels me as a Northeasterner, but like as having a kind of Southern vibe to even your artwork. There's like a light that feels Southern to me in your artwork.
That's something I'm going to ponder in the future. Probably be a lot of good food for thought. I definitely, just like talking about my work, I explore a lot around place and where I came from and stuff. But as I informed you before we started this discussion, what kind of wanted to get into where is the art coming from, or who is it for, but also eternally I find myself circling back to what is art and where does it start or stop. And so it feels weird to even use the word work and like my work and my project and my art, because that's growing more and more strong. Is I don't experience it that way, and even want to kind of dissolve that for myself.
Can you just say a little more about that?
Well, I know I have had conversations with people in the past where I've said like everyone's an artist. And I truly believe that, like, we're all creating the world moment by moment in physical, tangible, aesthetic, spiritual, all different sorts of ways, but we, each of us are doing that. And so, like, I guess I've been wondering lately, why do I choose to say, oh, I'm an artist? And where's that coming from? And what do I mean by that? Or what does one mean by that? And that part isn't super clear to me. I got a lot of answers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel like, as someone who like went to art school and blah, 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 like I've heard many people say something along that line of like, well, everyone is an artist. And truthfully, I don't know if I would have, I guess what I want to say is when I have heard you say it, it's maybe among the first times I believed it. And I think the reason why I would have a different response to hearing you say it is because what I see in how you live your life is very, yeah, I don't see like now making art, now being Paula, now, I don't see a whole lot of division, even though you do make objects and do certain moments in time directed in that way. But I feel like, and even just how you interact with other people, doesn't matter if they call themselves artists. I feel like you create an opening for them to be as creative as they want to be, right in that moment, so there's a kind of opening that you bring to any kind of interaction, yeah, that makes that sort of question or that statement of like everyone's an artist. Some people it kind of falls flat for me, but I feel like there's a truth in it, that you actually live.
Yeah. That I believe that. That's what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, and not just believe it, but like you manifest it, you embody it. Yeah.
So I am watching some of your videos. I have heard you talk about some of the motive behind your work, and especially these videos has to do with everyone viewing and like helping facilitate everyone as a creative person, that we're all creative. And so for me, I've been spending a lot of time thinking about imagination, and kind of that's sort of the area that my future is headed towards, just exploring that in a deeper way. But so I guess I have a little bit of a question, or thought maybe we could talk for a second about creativity and imagination, and if there's like a distinction where they come together. Because, and I can go on a little bit about what I'm thinking in terms of the imagination, but it's like it's the strongest force in the world, and that realm or force within us is what makes the world. And so how do you connect to it? How do you cultivate it? What, how can you apply it to your life? Where can it take you? What, I don't know. It's been so helpful to me, and most recently really on a physical health, mental health, physical well-being level just through imagination. I feel like I really regained or stepped into a new paradigm, where like I have more vitality and a greater sense of well-being than I've probably ever had in my life. So anyway, just because it's like we're resonating on a similar wavelength in that regard, is how it seems to me, but I wanted to hear from you. So
yeah, that's super interesting. I mean, I have all kinds of thoughts like in my head, you know, hearing you say that. And but one of them that comes to mind, I mean, is I remember hearing about a study of, they had some people practicing piano in real life, and some people were imagining themselves practicing piano. I think it was for like 20 minutes a day. And let's say it was 3 months. I don't know how long it was. And then at the end of those 3 months, they gave a recital, and the people who just imagined themselves playing played almost identically to the people who were physically sitting at the piano. And when I heard about that, it was like, that was so liberating. And in a way, I hear a little bit of that in terms of what you're saying. And I don't know that I had really connected it with creativity, but I do think there's something about, I hear from lots of people them saying to themselves, I'm not creative, or saying to others, I'm not creative. Oh, I'm not an artist. I'm not creative. That's so-and-so over there. They're the creative one. And, you know, for me, that's a pretty heartbreaking thing to hear, because I actually believe that we are, like, the human race, you know, is kind of like, that's our mandate. Why we're here is to be creative. And maybe imagination's another way of, like, what can we imagine? I mean, imagination is such a fascinating activity of the mind. You know, because it's like conjuring the thing that's not in front of you. And maybe that thing hasn't even been invented yet. Just sort of amazing, right? Or we don't think it's been invented, but maybe somehow, you know, generationally past, we came in contact. Who knows? We don't know. I mean, we don't know. Yeah. So
when you used the word creativity just now, the like understanding that I had was about manifesting, that creativity has to do with bringing into being in a tangible material way. I don't know if that's true, but right. Yeah, where imagination is like a stream or a
interior,
less tangible in that physical realm. Yeah
well, I mean, maybe it'll come up again while we're talking. So
somehow it made me think about two things related to this woman I know from upstate, who, she's an artist, her mother was an artist, but she's also a psychiatrist and knows a lot and researches and works in a realm of psychiatry that has to do with the mind and how actually things are beyond just that physical material, whatever, chemical way of functioning, and that one story she told me was about a study where some guys were driving a submarine and they had to park it at the, dock. And they had, I think, 4 guys all hooked up with, the recording their brainwave patterns. And one guy's task was to like steer the boat, and the other people were doing something where their mind was more diffused, less focused. The driver is very focused. The other people, their brain waves were this diffused thing, and she interpreted it, or the study interpreted it, that they were in support of and like working together in a collective consciousness rather than well, also, simultaneously they're individuated. So, and then kind of with her, sometimes, just a couple of times, we did experiments where we could see if, like, as we were drawing, it impacted each other's drawing, or we tried to impact one another's drawings. And yeah, drawing in like a collaborative way, passing things back and forth. She talked to me a lot about the way energy and the mind work together. So anyway, just
it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Kind
of tangential. Sorry.
No, it's interesting. Yeah.
I think it's exciting to me to, first of all, have this conversation with you, and to have looked through my work in preparation for the conversation. And then even knowing it's being recorded, my nerves are up a little bit.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll forget about the recording soon.
I hope so too.
So, Paula, you have boldly taken the controls and created your...
Oh, the slides?
Yeah. So I'm going to say whenever you feel like sharing, please do. And yeah, maybe, I don't know if you want to say a little bit about how you envision the...
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about my process. So I looked through the images that are on my computer here, which is just the last 2 or 3 years. And because it's a relatively new laptop. And yeah, so I just culled a bunch. Shall I do the share screen? Yeah. Desktop. Share. Oh, there. Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, so first I wanted to offer this image because in corresponding about this, I asked like if there was anyone specific you envisioned creating this for, like, and it made me think a lot about my own ideas around audience and who I'm making work for. And I realized it's been this ongoing thing, a thread in my work. So I found this from an old sketchbook. So I wanted to say, dearest viewer, thank you for taking the time to look at and think about my art. Love always. Paula Lalala. Is this control band? Can you see that?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, is there a way to like make it full screen?
Oh, views. Yes.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. And can you still see this control band across the top?
No,
Okay.
I can't see
Only
it.
I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to what I started doing this year and kind of how it fits in with the rest of my life is energy healing across time has been like my main goal personally for the last few years since 2018, multi-generational healing across time because of a lot of trauma in my personal past and then also in my families on both sides. And then I just want to kind of define what trauma is because I think people throw that term about a lot. But from my understanding, trauma is an experience where you biologically feel that death is imminent. And it can happen in many, many ways, and it's different kind of like every time. But so like even an infant, if it's left alone in a cold room for really a long time and no one's touching it or picking it up and it's just there crying, it actually biologically starts to shut down. And so as someone who has struggled with a lot of mental health and physical health later kind of manifesting on the physical level, eventually I realized it's bigger than me, this kind of mental health issue. And I understood it to come from previous generations. And so anyway, this was the first piece that I've done in this series that is like my current vein of one of the things that I have going on.
And it's a painting with collage, or is it digital?
It is, yes. Images that it's all on one surface. It's rag paper that I printed these photos on and then painted gouache on top of.
Oh.
And they're from my infancy. And this is another one that I was doing for one of my nephews who's been going through a hard time. And these are also new, even more recent. Not exactly sure they're related, but I'll just flip through. This is a set of like 6, maybe. I call them These Hands of Mine, and then describe the and then what it's over. So this one's like red and green and beads and rose quartz over spring sky or something like that.
I mean, given what you said prior to seeing these, I guess, you know, thinking about like intergenerational trauma, which I think I feel like people have known about for millennia and then somehow forgot for a long time. And now we're rediscovering, and that's a whole like epigenetic field of study, and how trauma changes people's DNA. And I was even attending something not long ago, a month ago or so, about how, we've discovered that, say, survivors of the Holocaust, their grandchildren have like altered DNA and the way their brain patterns work. And in fact, if you have an eating disorder for long enough, you can alter your DNA and then pass that along to your own children if you have them, in that way. And so, yeah, I feel like an imprint or something, and I have like multiple streams crossing right now in my head of ideas. But so I feel like there's this like internal imprint that comes about, and then this external imprint that humans have put on our earth, our land, which is like so destructive. And even the hands, I was just talking to someone yesterday or 2 days ago about discovering those red handprints in the caves that turned out to be women's. They think they're women's hands, like the first Paleolithic, is that how you say it? Drawings of like there's handprints in these caves, and it's kind of like this need to be seen, remembered. It's coming up for me anyway. And yeah, again, to like imagination and creativity and memory, they're very intertwined.
Yeah. So the healing and the imagination to me became incredibly linked when I was like, oh, this problem is bigger than me, and I have to do multi-generational healing across time, which sounds so not grounded in big R reality, like consensual reality. But from my experiential self and my depressive self, who has spent a lot of time in, I would say, altered states, right? Because sleep and dream are different states of being. And anyway, from those selves, I understand that it is possible to commune and change the flow and the storyline of not only my own life. Interestingly, becoming a grandmother was one of the big impulses for doing this, or actually was the key. So
that was in 2018.
Yes.
And
so this sequence of images, that all seemed really related to that. And then this series also, which have a lot of messaging, like positive affirmations, but the images themselves were like vessels with handmade, woman-made doilies and lace that originally I shot. My brother's a gynecologist, and I originally submitted a proposal for his clinic to have these images of vessels kind of like just thinking about female kind of centric material, I don't know, metaphor and symbol. But they didn't go for it. And so I had all these images, and then I started playing with them and manipulating them further. And I don't know, I've really been enjoying drawing on photographs for a long time now. And
are you drawing directly on a physical photograph, or is this digital?
yeah, I print them out, and then yeah, this is colored pencil.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's colored pencil, that's gouache.
I would be so psyched to go to a gynecologist that had these on the wall. But I also could kind of imagine there's a leap to be made.
So I have a set of 5 in my museum right now, but I have the potential to do maybe 50 more that I already have the images of.
That'd be amazing. Yeah.
So, oh, this is a sequence that's just straight photography that I've been exploring for a long time. It's still a practice for me, where I'm calling them object photos. So these are objects, most of which have like deeply personal meaning. Someone gave me these arrowheads, and this picture, this belonged to my partner's mother's mother. These were my Girl Scout badges. So anyway, I have been making the images, and then I also have made objects of the images, or have had them. I think it's kind of like exploring photography, and the intersection of material, objects, and images.
Well, but there's something also about, like, you have these objects that have personal meaning. Then you set them against a background and take a photo. So now you're like one layer away. Now you've taken this photo and created another way of presenting it, which happens to be on another object, but it's an object that has been like newly created, has no memory in it, there's no relationship. So I don't know, it's like, I don't know, it's like a very interesting play on this idea of like memory and object.
Yeah, I learned about this psychological term, transitional object, which has to do with how we attach meaning to objects. And it's a really basic, primitive part of human beingness, at least in our culture. So much so that I think they're called comfort objects, like police and EMT, ambulance people travel with stuffed animals to give to children, because they actually have physiological calming effect and comforting to them. And yeah, some of the backgrounds, actually a lot of the backgrounds on the photographs are other photos that I'll print out. Like I love to shoot patterns. but like this one, can you see the mouse moving around?
Yeah, yeah, I can.
Is this vessel is a gift someone gave me that's a ritualistic vessel for, I believe, spirits, alcohol spirits. And this shape and image is a photograph that I took of an Islamic pattern in a temple, I think, or a scholarly building. I can't remember exactly the name of it, but anyway, I also have been printing parts of photographs and then placing objects on those, other people's work. So I don't know. Exactly what bringing them together in that way is for, but so it's an ongoing thing. Oh, that's a handprint from my son when he was little, and then there's a photograph of it. So, oh yeah, because thinking about how image and the imagination are linked, I only recently kind of made the connection that the imagination is like a very imagistic visual process. And I don't know, I was reading some of the neuroscience around it.
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've been taking actually someone who was on Small Things Brought Together, Carrie Heater. She is a neuroscientist and design. She's just retired, and she has a business where she designs meditation for sort of research purposes. And she's been doing this meditation series kind of based on imagination. And she did one and she like presents a 10-minute guided meditation. You do a little moving, a little breathing, and then she asks you to imagine something. And then she asks you to do it twice in the week. So 2 separate times. And one of them was about smell. So like call to mind a smell that you remember from your childhood. And she had like 3 different prompts around smell. And the first time I did it, I really, really struggled. And I thought, oh, is it because I'm such a like visually attuned person? I couldn't tap into another sense. And then I was like, but actually, my nose was super stuffed up. So I wrote a note to her, like, oh, I really like, I was surprised how hard it was to like conjure up a memory of a smell, because smells are like the most primitive thing to kick off the memory. And I said, but I don't know, could it be related to the fact that like I'm stuffed up right now? And she wrote back and said, I think it has a lot to do with that. So then I found another day when I wasn't, and it like this, I could get it right away, the smells. So I don't know really exactly what this has to do with what you just said, except like there's something about like our current physiological state and our capacity to like touch certain, capacities in our brain, I think. in terms of, I guess that's not like a really ground earth shattering thought, but like, I wonder if it has to do with like, well, it's so easy to imagine, like if you're super in a heightened state, whether it's like anger or happiness or even depression, which maybe doesn't sound like a heightened state, but it's a strong state, then our like perception is so altered, you know, and
Mm-hmm.
our capacity to see what's in front of us or to even see and have a reaction to an image or an image of an image, you know, there's something about like some of the especially those objects in the case, the bookshelf case or the display cases, I feel like I have a feeling they conjure a very particular like the visceral feeling, and I can't pin it down with words, but I recognize it. Like every time I see those works, whether I've seen them in person or now in the slide, like I have this like feeling, and it's almost like a tip of the tongue feeling
Of like how we make sense of the world, kind of like.
yeah, like it's like it's memories I don't know that I ever like I didn't have or something. I don't know, you know.
Oh wow, that's really neat. That's really neat. Like this story and meaning. Most of these objects are mine that I own, own or possess. Like this was always in my bedroom when I was a girl. I still have it. This little rose on it broke off, so I made a Sculpey one and glued it on. But no one knows like my experience or relationship to it. Many of the things I don't know who this belonged to or how it came to be in my family's possession. The objects have their own life and may have been meaningful to other people in the past. Yeah. When you were talking about smell, it made me think, kind of apropos of this point in time, which COVID is still going on. A friend who writes for the Times told me about an article that was in the Times. I haven't read it myself. That was for people who lost their sense of smell. You actually can strengthen and grow and regain your sense of smell if it's lost, unless the nerve is completely severed. And you do it by focusing on smells. So right now I have some water. It doesn't really have a strong smell, but smell something.
Yeah.
My hair that has a scent, and then just do it like at consistent times every few hours or over a few days. Maybe a lemon, and oh, there's the fruit bowl near me. That's what I'm and I was looking for a lemon there. And then also by thinking of a smell that you really loved. And so say if you love the smell of lemon, trying to expose yourself to that and focus on it, which you can almost see like building the nerve or the muscle. It's like a growth oriented way of manifesting, really, through the imagination. Not to beat on the drum too much. Oh, so I have them printed on metal, and think of this as building jewelry. So I guess it's extra decorative. Decorative, decorative, decorative.
Yay.
It is like a big necklace or something.
Yeah, like a charm.
Yeah. Oh, so images. Okay. That's my friend and me. I was thinking about how everyone takes images. So, like, we all have portraits and selfies, and there's my friend again. He passed away earlier this year. So, and he was my best friend. Oh, but thinking about using images to heal across time. Oh, I wanted to show this is in the context of the museum. So I have this photograph, which actually I didn't take. It's of he and I when we were teenagers. And
maybe can I just interrupt that? We'll pin that, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
And could you just say, what is the museum?
Oh, I have a mug here. This is the Paula Lalala Museum. Can you read that, or is it backwards too?
Yeah, I can read it.
Yeah. And it's this ongoing, large-scale, long-term artwork that is an actual museum people can visit. It's an autobiographical museum. It's an immersive, multisensory environment that is my museum about me. No. Right. It actually is beyond just about me. And it's in upstate New York. It's traveled, parts of it have traveled to other countries, other states. And it in its entirety has moved about 5 times, but it is in what I am hoping is a long-term permanent, quote unquote permanent home, where it has been for 11 years. And people can visit by appointment. And I occasionally have hours that are usually posted on the website. So this is, just how images have meaning and life of their own. And
are those dogs real? Sorry, I can just
no, those are so my friend, you can see from this photo, he had dogs that he loved that were Russian wolfhounds. And a friend of his, actually this woman here, gave him these sculptural figures that he had in his apartment.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was just thinking about how everyone uses images and kind of the role they have in our life as a tool for understanding where we are and what's going on. And I think,
sorry.
Oh, reaching into the future. Like, I think they also are kind of like this forward facing.
One thing that I remember reading in, I think it was the book, I do want to ask you about that. What is painting? I think it's in that book. I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it, but usually what happens in when I post the the thing to YouTube, our video to YouTube, I'll have some links, and maybe we can talk about which links we want to include. So if people want to go deeper into some of the topics that come up, if there's a way.
Yeah, I saw that you have that. That's great. And it's such a nice resource to be able to link to something and kind of
follow-ups.
Have an easy way. Yeah.
But I remember this reading this, I think it's in that book, and it really just like has stayed with me forever, is how you know, up until some fairly recently, but so for most of human existence, people really had very limited access to images. Like you would go once a year to the church and see the painting, or you know, now I'm just like being very Eurocentric. So there may have been other ways that in other cultures, but I'll just stick to the one that is my heritage. You know, like the capacity to, or the ability to actually engage with an image was very limited. And the power of that image then. So the reason I thought of the church is like, if you never saw any image and then once a year you went to this church and saw, you know, Jesus on the cross, how powerful that would be in your imagination, you know, like, and now we see like every day thousands of images, quite likely hundreds, you know, and like, in a way, there's something gained and there's something lost, you know.
Yeah. I actually think that the abundance and the ever increasing quantity of images, once the internet really became so huge, and even cell phones started having cameras in them, really got me thinking a lot about their role in our life and their value. And I had thought that the sheer numbers kind of diminishes their significance, but I changed my mind. Yeah. I think it's a tool, even for like collective consciousness, or some beyond our human consciousness, like maybe a Gaia or meta intelligence that, I don't know, maybe it has to do with the mind, like a different mind that's beyond the individual mind. Right. And I think beyond the cathedral type of paintings, I'm going back to the caves, right? And the Paleolithic pictograms and like whatever was going on in there. Ancient world. It's a living practice that we're all still engaged. Yeah, that's why I included those kind of selfie style photos, because it's so ubiquitous in our world now. And as someone in my museum, I have a lot of more formal self-portraits. I have drawings, paintings, and photographs using the old-fashioned shutter release bulb and camera on a tripod. And anyway, yeah, when I started seeing people taking selfies in New York City, just like how many people are doing it, it's yeah, just been a really thought-provoking topic.
Yeah, I mean, I have so many thoughts and reactions, but I do want to talk about this photograph.
Yeah, I picked it up because you said, yeah. And it's a nice bridge into talking about my next group of work, which is related to my mother. So that's me and my mom. In like February of 2020, we were on a road trip together.
Oh, okay. So was this like at a Airbnb or something?
Yes, it was at an inn, and we're both wearing tiaras because they're toys, and we're playing around, and I don't know. We were both being like, I don't know. Cool. It was fun. I do a lot of stuff with my mom that's fun.
Yeah, yeah. She's game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a way of being creative together. Just like, taking a selfie together is like a creative act.
Yeah.
Did you have a thought that you wanted to share about this?
Well, when I was looking through, couldn't get it to be this big, so I wasn't even 100% sure that it was you in the bed, but I knew it was your mom from some previous photos, which in the order I saw them were some previous. And then I knew your mom had been sick, and so it had a different connotation for me.
Yeah, I think I selected this. So usually when I shoot a bunch of photos all at the same time, and then I semi-edit them sometimes. Sometimes I show them in slideshows unedited. But I picked this one because she's actually been near death a lot lately, and I think images, especially portraits and images of people, have that aspect of preserving beyond death or in relation to death. And also, I love beds and sleep, and I don't know, it's a very intimate space, and
Amazing picture. Amazing.
thanks. It's fun. It's like play and creativity. Oh, so here's my mom in my studio.
This is another amazing picture. Yeah.
She came to be with me. She wanted me to make some artwork of a dream that she had. And so we were doing it in a kind of collaborative way. She had this strong visual image. She said she doesn't think visually, but she had this dream, and she wrote it down. She called me on the phone, and so she came to work with me, and just kind of like I wanted to surround her with my art and kind of show her what I was doing. I don't know. So yeah, here she is in the studio.
Well, I think about like in the museum, one of the pieces that I have remembered so clearly and thought about a lot is you have a series of portraits. I think it's your grandmother at a certain age, your mother at a certain age, and you at a certain age, like side by side.
Mm-hmm.
3.
Yeah. We were all
I mean,
around 15 years old.
yeah, that one just always just like pierces me when I see it. And somehow when I saw this, there was just something like about this mother-daughter relationship
Yeah.
that's speaking in it, and you know, knowing that your mom has been sick, and yet there she is sitting, but she's looking like kind of up and away and in a white dress. I don't know, it was very like you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So her dream had to do with, she's deeply religious in a Christian fundamentalist religion, and she has this vision of going to heaven. But she could, in her dream, also see the earth below and the animals. And she's like, it's an ascension
Mm.
kind of dream. And so she had very specific things about heaven, had like streets of gold. And so I told her, you know, I can't see inside of your mind. So it's, first of all, it's not going to look like exactly what you see. And besides that, I don't even think I could actually make exactly what I see in my mind, because in the process of making it, it always morphs into some other entity. And so I had her come and I took photographs of her.
Mm.
Um, and then I also took photographs, culled things from the internet, and created this, what I call earthly mom. Speaking of the mother-daughter relationship, I mean, this is how I see my mom, you know, like she's all powerful, giving me life.
I mean,
And
this actually makes me want to cry, Paula, and I'm not even sure exactly why, but there's something so like, what?
I think this is on my computer as my screensaver. I made this end of 2019, beginning of 2020, and it's also related to this healing across time stuff, and using photographic images to do that. So this is her in heaven. She had specific things with her mother, and her father were there. Her mother was reaching, her parents were like welcoming her. The hand of God, which is my hand. I photographed my hand to be like uh thinking about the creation, you know, and like the act of creating. And I don't even like to use the word God, because so much violence and warfare has happened for God's sake, but or in the name of God. But I also respect like people's relationship to the unknown, and the ineffable and the awe inspiring. And so like you were talking about creation or creativity as this thing that we're all called or we're here to do. And yeah, so I think like if I were to define, I can't even really define my conception of that which is beyond comprehension or beyond understanding, but it's like I'm part of it, you're part of it, we're all part of it. It's bigger than us. So I'm God, you're God, everything's God. And
Yeah.
yeah.
What is this at the bottom? It's my right, my left, sorry.
This,
Yeah. Like a
those
gate.
are the gates. Yes, there were supposed to be golden gates, but they're narrow. She had a lot of things from Revelation written into her dream. So few shall pass through the narrow gates, and angels were there. And so I put the tree of heaven, I think she said there was a large tree with fruits from all around. And so in creating it, I obviously took from, historic works of art, but also images of people falling. And I made them into like those angel entity, bird, like butterfly, fairy creatures. So yeah, that was.
Did she see these?
She loved, yeah, they're in her home. This is, and I also did a lenticular of her. I have it right here. So I hope you can see this.
A little backlit, but yeah.
Oh, backlit. Okay.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
Yeah. This one's hard because the.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, that's so incredible.
The frame of mind she was in when I took that portrait in my studio. She was very much kind of theatrical, willing to be very theatrical, and kind of sincerely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I just want to point out a lot of she has this elephant collection. And so in my object photos, I have, for example, photographs of
oh yeah.
A lot of her elephants.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I see also you sort of come by it naturally to have this kind of collector.
Yeah.
Play.
So, I wanted to, in thinking about imagination and how we're all creative artists, like I take a lot of photos of domestic environments. This is my apartment, and kind of like how I don't know. This is a area of work that I'm exploring more consciously in the present, the domestic environment. Then I put this one in here to have as a bridge between the domestic environment and my rarefied air collection, air from museums. So I had it in my apartment, and it's currently in my studio. So I'll just quickly explain. I go to art venues and collect samples of the air in a jar. And I have this entity called Enhanced Art Resources, which has like multiples and additions. Typically they're performative. Do you recognize this stairwell? It used to be
Whitney, the old Whitney.
Yeah. So, you're not even supposed to take photographs there.
I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't get arrested.
I know. So then I exhibit it, or have exhibited it in a few different ways, but I think this is an exploration in the same way that the photo object photos have that removing thing, which actually I was reading about something called emergence, like a scientific term for the way maybe a snowflake forms is through like a replicated process. I'll have to look that one back up. I can't do it justice. But to me, it's like you start doing something and then just like keep following it in the same vein. And so like I've been collecting the air and then enhancing it with these energy kind of drawings and videos. And so when I displayed this as part of this group show organized by Ken Cole in Maine at the Waterfall Art Center, that was, I think, 2019. I showed photographs from when I collected some of the samples, which actually when I first made it, I had a vitrine for LA, New York, and London, because those were like 3 huge art meccas, really. And I was amazed at how many art venues they had. When I started looking into how many art museums are in New York City, I could not believe it. Like, it was close to 50. So
yeah.
okay.
Can I just stop for 1 second? Because in a way, this is like totally maybe reflecting back on me, but like in a way, when I think of you in this like fearless role, part of what I think of is, you know, so you somehow come up with this idea of like, I'm going to collect air samples, rarefied air. There's, you know, like there's like the multi meanings in the title, and sort of there's all sorts of things. But for me, I have to confess one thing that I kind of am like, oh my God, you actually like get amazing display case to like to finish it, like to display it in a way that is matching this sort of intention. And then you have this entity, the EAR, and so to sort of even come back to process of giving yourself permission to, I mean, it's kind of almost stupid to call it that, but I'm going to like create this enhanced art research, and then to go out and really like buy these display cases and then set them up. I don't know why. I guess because this is a reflection, as I say, on me, because like that's where I would skimp.
On the acquiring the display cases.
Yeah.
I have
I have some like weird shelf over here, or I'll like make cardboard boxes, or you know.
Oh, that's interesting, because the yeah, it's a whole huge thing talking about spending money on art and permission to do that, or how we choose to spend our money and resources. Nothing was super expensive. Like the display cases were, I think, around $75 each. Same with the video monitors. The prints, the photographic prints, cost me over $5 each to print. I had books made. So there's a limited edition of, I'll go quickly. Oh, but before we leave and I show the limited edition book, I want to point out the logo is EAR, and it has this nose, which always makes me happy. And I started doing these enhancement procedures where I would place the jars on these energy paintings. So, oh, it also has morphed out of being just LA. I never have actually made it to LA to collect art there, air there, but I last year drove to Texas to go on this road trip with my mom and to deliver the artwork to her. And so I went to different art museums around the South. And this is at Crystal Bridges, which is one of the, I think, only collecting art museums that was privately funded in the US in like 70 years. Something, I'll have to look up this story, but for people who don't know,
Yeah.
it's the heirs to the Walmart fortune are very big supporters of the arts. So,
Amazing, you know, yeah.
yeah. And so here's just, you know, from last year's trips to museums, a few images. Oh, and this is the books, the limited edition books. I just have New York City and London. And I'll just go pretty quick through these because there's a bunch of images. So besides the book, they also are slideshows of the bottles and the like images of the bottles. They're both images of the bottles, manipulated images.
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it's like, well, it's obviously a continuation of like the thing, the object, the photograph of the photograph, the slide of the photograph of the photograph, you know,
Yeah.
like a whole layering thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny to see them like all in one little corner.
Yeah. I also have videos on YouTube of them. Oh, and then I love to draw these kind of like ribbon things, and so I made those in relation to that series, which led me, I think, to this series, which is Air, Water, Dirt. I collect air. It actually, I had been doing this a long time ago, and it just came back. So I guess in the 80s or early 90s, I started saving dirt and water from when I would visit my family, because I think I wanted to bring a little bit of where they were back with me. And these are from that same kind of thing. Oh, and so I was thinking about how everyone probably takes photos of nature. Like this is a very, when you go and are before the beauty, you just can't help it. And I have been doing landscape photography for a really long time that originated from an opportunity to put artwork in a hospital. And I wanted to give people a place to go besides watch TV. So like a place to project themselves. So it was like straight up this type of traditional, very, very traditional depiction of the landscape. But I usually had like a really forced deep perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And then that somehow is related to, but I had photos of people in the landscape and I started cutting the people out. And that led to doing these portals, nature portals, which I have hundreds of those kind of images. Oh, but also have used them in different ways. Like I took these for the Women's March. And here, that's just like a piece of bark that had a hole in it that I photographed through. So I have had them printed on canvas. Sometimes I print them on paper. And oh, that was for climate change march. So it's fun to use them in a different way, but also to have the purpose of projecting yourself into, especially, I don't know. I think of them as portals.
Yeah.
And I have a lot on one of my websites. Oh, this piece I also made last year and thought that I would be doing a lot more of them. I think I have issues around capitalism and big box retail. So I wanted to explore it and find a way to honor it rather than just be like hostile. So I went to Walmart and I bought all these things and I set them up into this kind of altar and I photographed it and then I took it back, took the objects back, except for the bottles of water. I think you can't return bottled water.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was thirsty. But yeah, so I thought like it's really actually amazing. There's this kind of trust that we have with retailers, like I don't know. And what is ownership?
You know, I mean, I love this. I feel like you are tapped into, I mean, it's interesting that you didn't do more with it, but maybe you will at some point, because I've also been like really like wanting to do a project like in the Walmart parking lot or yeah.
So I thought I would be photographing this right outside of Walmart in the parking lot. I started setting it up and the guard, I was the manager, I had to leave. They got really upset with me. You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah.
I actually photograph inside of Walmart a lot and objects. Funny enough, yeah. So yeah, I think I will do more of these. But once COVID hit, and then I also have experienced a lot of loss. In the last year, I don't know if I really need to do a lot more, but I see it as part of this practice of doing kind of like making altars. This series I called Shrines and Altars to Material Existence. So I think it's all part of the same thing.
It also reminds me of I never saw this, but we have a mutual friend, Nick Fricaro, who's artist, theater person in Brooklyn. And I remember him, this also made a deep impression on me, but I remember him talking about how he would go into dollar stores and get a basket and just like fill a basket, sort of fantasize about what he would do with all this stuff. And then he would just leave the basket, which in retrospect maybe wasn't fair to the poor underpaid people who work there, but like there was something about like the act of like desiring, fulfilling your desire by putting it in the basket, and then like not needing to follow through, you know, like the experience of the satisfaction happened, and you didn't actually have to now go home with any of this stuff, you know.
Wow, this makes me think about, like, I guess related to consumerism and images, um, product placement, and how movies and advertisement and journalism, entertainment, they're all like interwoven. Oh, technology, the internet, social media, they're all interwoven to sell us stuff. And I think when you and I were young, it was very obvious. Oh, here, I'm trying to sell you something. But, well, actually, product placement, you know, think of the black and white movies with every single person smoking and drinking highballs and stuff. So it goes well beyond our childhood.
Yeah.
But what kind of drives me crazy now is it is feels more sneaky, like woven into depictions of reality that are these, you know, like entertainment stories. And we're all really turned on by story and narrative, right? It does something to our brains and emotions, and it's how we make sense of the world. It's like a really basic primal need to make sense of existence. And it's just so sneaky to have like it trying to show what reality is, but it's a made up reality that is to get you to buy things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, somehow that's related to images and desire and making what the world is. And like we're taught to do that through ownership.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, oh, this is a good piece to go. So in the museum are lots of these layered, you know, I don't even know what to call, I want to say emergent pieces, where these are photographs that are from a performance that I did where I cut up all of my clothing and cut shapes and stuff. And so then I have the piece of clothing and then wearing the clothing. And oh, is it George Bataille? Somebody said you can create only through destroying. I don't know. I think I used to have this really strong decay, death, destruction aspect, like looking for transformation through through that. Oh, I really wanted to show you this piece, Robin, because you, when you were last here visiting me in person, these photographs, which are prints on wood, I had on the floor, and you were like, oh, that'd be really, maybe you could have a table or some low horizontal thing. But it actually morphed into this sculpture last year, which has like a hollow interior that I lined with this wool blanket someone gave me. And then I wired it, like up at the top is a light that is, you know, just an inexpensive light that goes through a color sequence.
Uh-huh. Portal.
I was actually thinking like it was an energy kind of yoga, sort of, I don't know. So I just really, since you had seen it in a different state, wanted to show you
Yeah. No, I love where you took that. Yeah.
Oh, and so this is a slideshow from the gift shop in the museum called Brand Identity, several years old. But I just wanted to kind of show things from the museum. There's my mom, my teddy bear. This picture Jack and I made when we became parents. I don't know if I told you, we were going to send it as a Christmas card and tell everyone we actually had twins. No one knew. Oh, yeah. Death and destruction kind of theme. Oh, I think I wanted to talk about.
There's a museum.
Yeah, this is the museum. Kind of. I'll just look through the museum for a minute. It's hard to talk and look at the same time. Yeah, self-portraiture. Yeah, this is a performance where I shaved off all my hair. Here's a Zach and me, my son when he was a boy, dead bird. Oh, this is from, I did a series where I would go to people's house and take a picture with them. A diorama from a long time ago now. Oh, my dad. Yeah, I know I had thoughts in my mind when I picked out these from my thousands and thousands of photographs. I was like, oh, I'll just throw together some images from the museum.
Well, I mean, I feel like, there's a way you could hear it's an autobiographical museum and be like, okay, I'm definitely never going there, but I guess I would just say it, yeah, okay, it's autobiographical, but like that is, I don't know, like that's the least of it. I don't know how to say it. Like it's just so much broader than what that one word sort of implies. So
I definitely believe in the microcosm, macrocosmic kind of relationship and so this is part of the conversation I really am happy to be talking with you about, because I have thought about how my work in the past has been very introspective, inward journey. I think a lot of women, although I don't want to be too binary about this, like the inward gaze and inviting people in. So, oh, this is the one you were talking about. Yeah. The like this sense of wanting people to come into my world and feeling like, I don't know, it doesn't always feel safe to have strangers come into my own environment. But like contrasting that with the impulse to go out into the world, I think I'm morphing more into go out into the world, and maybe that like commercial altar to commerce is playing with that. I don't know. But I guess I wanted to ask your thoughts around the impulse for having people in versus going out, because you go out into the world a lot. And like I said to you before we began recording, I think you're working across time and space with people, with like, and communities. Very, it's not like the micro.
Well, it's kind of the opposite in a
Yeah,
way.
totally.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, I can't help but wonder if, you know, some of the way I've heard you talk about the museum in the past in particular, it was like there's a section to maidenhood and then motherhood, and now you've crossed a new threshold, if you want to use like Jungian terms, you know, into the crone, like post-menopausal time. And we're no longer, our role in the world is no longer at like a particular kind of creation, you know, or allowing people in, you know, I'm walking into uncharted territories with my words here. But I guess I just thought, well, you know, I wonder, there's a role in the world which is not very much appreciated. In fact, I would say it's denigrated, that of the older woman who speaks the truth and goes out, you know, of course, those are the people who were like witches and got killed. But,
Right.
you know, for humans, yeah, I don't know. Just thinking about the sort of trajectory of the museum, like it's an interesting thought.
Yeah, that's really interesting because this piece, which is I made after I became a grandmother, is like this 5 drawings. That's one object, one drawing, whatever, of moving from generation to generation, how we're all of woman born.
Mm. Mm.
And there she is giving birth. Yeah, I think.
So tender.
Yeah. So, yeah, that is the role that I'm stepping into. And one of my last kind of formal self-portraits, I'm going to flip through this really fast. Oh no, instead of flipping through, I'm going to go back to small screen, because I do have a self-portrait that's one of the more formal self-portraits. Here, I don't know how clear you can read it. It's reflecting the ceiling, but it's the stereotypical kind of witch wanting to own that power, even though I don't identify as like a witch in any kind of formal religion or whatever, but also kind of trying to reenact the Mapplethorpe portrait.
Yeah.
Or Mapplethorpe and Stieglitz of Louise Bourgeois and
Georgia O'Keeffe.
Georgia O'Keeffe. And yeah, kind of just playing around with that. You know, when I went to the last art museum I visited was in Chicago, when we went to see our grandson last week, no, 2 weeks ago. And I was thinking about, sorry, I have to have a sip of water. My brain is getting cloudy and my voice is getting. Oh, just how art has become so self-referential. Like, if it's this living practice that sort of everyone's involved in, and it has its roots in those prehistoric pictograms and cave actions and images, rituals, whatever that, or like creating death masks or leaving a stone when you visit where someone died, or just those like really, really old impulses that we all have, like as a toddler, drawing with a crayon, or, you know, scratching in the sand with a stick. How like art set aside from that is more rarefied and has this self-referential aspect going on of like art about art, or referencing other art, or informed by other art, or showing you how it's informed by other art. And
Yeah, there's something there too about like when that happens, and, you know, kind of to like circle us right back to where we started in a way, like just as you were saying that, I was like, yeah, there's a way that we strip people of power when we convince them they're not creative. If someone feels creative, that's powerful. That is power, right? And for me, it's like the most human power, although I understand other animals are also creative, but you know, it's certainly one of our biggest traits. And yeah, seems like there's some there may be some forces at work that are pretty happy if people feel like they're not creative or powerful.
right, don't have their own personal power.
Yeah. I mean, well, I mean, this could be like a whole other conversation, but like, you know, that turning inward to then express outward, keeping us from that shift inward, it seems, it also feels like there's some people benefiting if we don't do that, you know? I mean, I don't think we actually do benefit, obviously. I think it's the world around us is a reflection of, you know, how desperately we need everyone to feel their power. You know, we're dying because that's not happening. So, on that happy note.
Actually, Robin, I was like, what do you mean we're dying? Because the first thing that sprang to mind was that like the human population explosion.
Yeah, but the planet.
Contradicted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we humankind will die out.
Yeah, like I feel like we are kind of in a death wish right now, you know. No one seems to have learned very much from the pandemic.
Yeah. I
yeah.
Was having a conversation last night, which was Thanksgiving, about the imagination and kind of where I want to go with it and why I came to be here. Like I said, through trauma, suffering, and the need to heal. And I through like positive affirmations and learning how to shift my perspective. Even the exercise of like, if I'm on this inward collapsing sort of narrative of how I'm a victim, or like how I'm ill or don't feel like, if it going down that way, I can start thinking about what tree is outside of the window. Do I hear the wind? Can I imagine the sun in the sky? Usually it's all very nature centric or universe kind of centric for me. I love Hubble telescope photographs. But I guess I think that the next stage at some point will be to shift the narrative or lens of thinking about even environmentalism and human travesty to something more healing and optimistic, and using our imagination collectively to envision that and work towards it. I don't want to just get lost in fantasy world, but I think that for me personally, it's been a vital step in actually healing and growing.
So I think you're touching on something that I think is just like, I mean, it's easy to go down the rabbit hole of the apocalypse, basically. And, you know, you can look at that again, like the macro or like one's own personal traumas.
Yeah.
And like connecting to what is also true, which is like, I'm sitting here and when I look out the window, the sun is going down and the clouds are like so beautiful. The colors are just unimaginable, you know, except I can see them with my own eyes right now, you know. And yeah, and I don't have to, there's no story there. It's just the truth. It's just the truth right now. And so I wonder, you know, like, we can be very grounded in a reality that is that beautiful and true. And from that place, look at this is going on, that is going on. You know? That feels way more full of potential than the narrative of the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Does that sound?
I think I just want to like see if I got your point, is kind of paraphrasing, being present in the now or awake to the immediacy of life that we're living in this very moment.
Yeah, and I think maybe this was before we hit the record button, but you had said like, even, you know, and we all sort of hear this and nobody wants to hear it when the shit's hitting the fan, but you know, even these moments that are like really awful, there's like this kind of amazing preciousness to them. And that feels a little weird to say, but like, there's like this potency and beauty, and if we're alive to it. And when we're caught in the story, we can't be alive to it. And then you were sort of looking at like the future and the sort of potential for like a healing direction versus continuing a destructive one. And if this is maybe even why, like, if we can't take a moment to like stop and like look find this find what's being offered like all the time, the beauty of every single instant, then yeah, I don't know, I lost my train of thought.
That the gift of life has the potential and that it's just so rich, that the suffering and the joy are here right now, and it's just like the complex beauty of now. I believe that's like what we're trying to get to. It's hard because it's so the cliched languages of like life is a gift.
Yeah, and like if somebody's really in something traumatic, they don't want to hear you say like, oh, it's a get, like, yeah.
Right.
Goodbye. But it could actually be harmful to say that. So I think, I mean, in a way, this is where, like, well, obviously, this is why we're making art and not, language fails. Language fails in these.
Yeah. I want to honor my friend here who I lost because this is related to a lesson that I learned through him. He had some health issues and fought really hard to live for a long time, and talked about seeing people in the hospital who just got up and kept moving and like are keeping going even though they're missing parts of their body or like their body is failing them. They're just like still here, still trying to be here. And I think we're all in that boat, whether we're conscious of it or not. We're all, everything we do is like to keep us going, to keep us alive, even things that seem self-destructive.
Yeah, that will to live is so powerful.
Yeah. The gift of being here and sharing and connecting and
yeah. Well, thank you, Paula, so much.
Thank you, Robin. It's been such a treat to look through my work and think about what do I want to share and kind of where's the line between art and life. And
yeah, may the conversation never end.
No, it won't. We'll definitely have more conversations. Okay.